One of the magical moments in Queensland sporting history. Thurston away. He goes out for Brent Tate. Tate goes for the pedal. Tate will score. Brent Tate, brilliant try. So Smith, now it's away to Crump. They got the numbers. Hodges is over. Hodges scores his 5th Origin try. Maybe his most important ever.
Well, how good is this? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Legendary Series. We are talking about the mighty Maroons right now. Thanks to Macca's, we're going to relive 3 great Origin Series wins by Queensland. And to do that, 3 blokes that between them have played 64 Origin matches. Billy Moore, 17 Origins. Welcome.
G'day, Vossy. Pleasure to be here.
Justin Hodges, 24 Origins.
Thanks, Vossy.
Not bad. And Brent Tate, incredibly, your last game of rugby league was your 23rd State of Origin game, like your very last game of your career.
Wasn't the fairy tale, but I finished in the jersey I loved the most, Vossy, so, yeah.
Beautiful stuff. Now, boys, just throw your eyes on these. These are the collectible cups thanks to Macca's. Now, Queensland have one up over New South Wales on this because only one team can have the very first win. And 1980, like, you've got to collect all 6, let's face it. But the 1980 Cup is something special. The Maroons deal, get your Big Mac, get your fries, get your drink, or get the 10 chicken McNuggets with the fries and the drink, or you can buy them separately. So, Justin, what's your PB on the Big Mac front?
Big Mac made for men. Probably about 3 or 4, I reckon.
3 or 4. Can you up it to 6 and get all 6 cups?
Oh, look, I'll go 6. Why not? You want to come with me?
I'll go 8, mate. We won 8 straight, so you go 8.
Now, the other thing with the cups is scan the cup, win or be in with a chance of winning a signed Queensland jersey or a double pass to game number 3 this year's series. So how good, thanks to Macca's.
Awesome. Well, looking at the cups, they obviously all different jerseys that we played in. I played
the logos,
those 2 there. They're fantastic.
There we go. All right, well, Billy, we are here to talk about series wins, but let's stick with the now for the present. 1-0 down in the series going into game 2. What did you make of game 1?
New South Wales dominated the middle. That's basically where we won and lost the game. They were playing off the front foot for virtually the whole game. We held in there as long as we could, hung tight. The second half, we had a good shot at them, but we never really put it in. We've got to win the battle in game 2 in the middle.
Look, for me, there was no aggression. I think when you talk about Origin, you watch Origin, you know, normally the first kickoff, normally the first 15, 20 minutes is just absolute chaos. You know, there's bodies flying out of line. You know, obviously there's no more fight and stuff like that, but there's always, you can see that hatred within each other's eyes. But I just didn't see that. I saw that in New South Wales. They looked like they were ready to go, and look, they really gave it to us, and it's very un-Queensland-like to play up at Suncorp Stadium and produce something like that.
I'll make this point, Tatey. One thing that I still haven't got my head around from game 1, even though New South Wales looked like they dominated second half or were on top, the last 44 minutes of the game, the scoreboard still reads Queensland 6, New South Wales 4. So perhaps with New South Wales not quite as good as we've made out, and Queensland not as bad as has been made in.
Yeah, Vossy, I think there's still a heap of improvement in our side. We were well below our best, and we didn't, we only lost just. So, look, we're up against it, absolutely, make no mistake about that, but the Queensland spirit, mate, it lives on. We'll be right in game 2.
All right, mighty Maroons. You spoke about aggression there, Justin. Just before we launch into 95, a quick poll. Who on the panel here has been sin-binned? Billy?
No chance.
Yeah, love or not a fighter. You too?
Because of him.
We're going to talk about it a little later. That is a beauty. One of the great Origin yarns. We'll get that a little later on. But Billy, and we're going to also know why you're not a fighter, because we've got to prove that.
We've got concrete evidence.
Yes, we do. Exhibit A, B and C is going to be played out to everyone right now. Let's go back to 1995. I've done and covered rugby league a long time, and I put it up there as one of the most remarkable coaching feats and remarkable things ever witnessed. Queensland win 3-0. The Neville Nobodies, Fatties, Nevilles. And you were a Neville.
Yeah, well,
proud Neville.
Before game 1 of 1995, in that side that Fatty coached, only one player had played for Australia, and that was Dale Shearer, and he hadn't done that for 5 years. In the other dressing room on the other side of the hallway at the Sydney Football Stadium, there was 11 current internationals.
Yeah.
Andrew Johns, Brad Fittler, et cetera, et cetera. So just on paper, you go, well, this is going to be lopsided.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that series, it was built around belief and that we knew the strength lay within inside the unit. And Fatty Vorton and Chris Choppy Close especially, they drew down on that passion. and they glued us together.
This was Super League time, so some of the biggest names in the game were not eligible to play, and that affected Queensland more, quite obviously.
Yes.
And this first game we're looking at, a 2-0 scoreline. Like, seriously, who had that on their bingo card, ever?
Yeah. Well, it's unfathomable that, because you've got the best attacking players in the comp.
Yeah.
So not be able to score a try is phenomenal in its own right. But when you look at the vision, that's our strength. And you guys played in the outside backs. When you look at the back three for Queensland, Robbie O. Davis, Matt Singh, and Brett Dallas, they saved so many tries. I think Singy held up 5 times. He saved 5 tries. The defence was unrelenting. And as the game went on, you can see New South Wales got frustrated. They had so many attacking weapons. You had Johns, you had Fittler, you know.
Bailey
had Paul McGregor. All these guys, Jimmy Dimmick, they all could attack, but they just couldn't find a way through us. And as the game went on, they started to decay a little bit.
You remember these boys well, Justin?
Yeah, well, obviously, we were 13 and sitting back home in Cairns and watching that game, but just realising how you don't always have to have the best team. And it sort of made me realise about game 1 this year, how on paper New South Wales looks so dominant. And then obviously Queensland sides don't. That sort of just rung a bell with me from 95, seeing that side.
Yeah.
Like you said, one player that played for Australia hasn't played for 5 years and the rest, like, wow.
We're here to have yarns. We're here to tell yarns, but famously in 95, it's captured on film by the cameras and the audio, the Queenslander chant in the tunnel. And Billy, you're responsible. Now, I'm telling you on Run On, you could hear it, but you couldn't see it. Did you know the camera's on you? Did you? Was that staged or not? Was that staged?
That was the first time they put a camera in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And that's where it was captured.
Yep.
In the change sheds before, the great Gary Larson turns to me, because we had 9 rookies.
Yeah.
And we were written off as any chance. And Gary Larson turns to me, he says, mate, tell them about the Queenslander. My first roomie was the late, great Peter Jackson. And the Queenslander chant to him meant 3 things. Help you, mate, find a solution, no excuses. So I told those rookies then and there inside that change room, I said, boys, we're going to scream Queenslander, and when we do, this is what it means. Help you, mate, find a solution, no excuses, get up off the ground. And as we turned and walked down the race, the greatest thing happened. All 16 of those shut up, and I kept screaming it, and the rest is history.
Can I just say, but like, we went to school the next day, and Queenslander chant was alive. Like, from that moment onwards, like, we were all at school the next morning yelling Queenslander. Like, that's where it was born, mate. It's so good.
It had been around for about 10 years. So I didn't invent it. It's not mine. It's ours.
But you have been out with Billy. He trades off it. Everyone comes up with Queenslander. Give us a Queenslander. Billy does it for $10. He brings out the F-pot. I'll give you Queenslander.
So the only people who knew about it were the Queensland players, which we knew what it was about, and the Welsh players who heard it and hated it. But they didn't know what it was, what the gist was.
All right, game 2 of that series is in Melbourne. Now, boys, you talk about going to school the next day. How did you go to school the next day after the fight? You've got to give us the background to the most famous brawl in Origin history.
Fatty Vorton comes in our hotel room before we jump on the bus to go to the MCG, and he said, I've just found out the tactics from New South Wales. If you say Queensland tonight, you're going to get punched in the head. And he said, hands up, those who's going to say it. 17 hands go straight up. And that's the first scrum 5 minutes into the game, and it erupts. See, I'm running around trying to find someone. I'm trying to find someone to dance with.
Look at singing.
And so it's on there, and there we go. Put the fear of God into him here.
Geez, Billy, you can really throw them.
Look at this.
That's going to need a little more critical analysis, that, Justin. You've been in the ring. So.
I've been in the ring, but what is it? Are you trying to grapple there, or what?
Yeah. Mate, I was cactus. And mate, we eventually
didn't you train with Johnny Lewis?
4 years. Johnny Lewis, after that, never spoke to me again, I think.
Now, the game itself, I mean, this is to wrap up the series in Melbourne, the unlikely 2-0 win. But in this one, Queensland are convincing. And, like, right down to the last try where Brett Dallas sprints away, Queensland won this fair and square.
Yeah, and I've got to highlight one player's performance, and that's Jason Smith. He comes in and replaces Dale Shearer, the only player that got hurt in our series. We had 18 players, that was it.
Yeah, wow.
So he jumps into 5'8", plays up against the great Freddie Fittler, who's a Hall of Famer. He outplays him. And Smitty had never played 5'8". Go figure. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and the reason they got the Neville Nobodies, like, just there, with respect, the pass there came from Terry Cook.
Yes.
There's blokes like Craig Teven. Now, these blokes don't have big scrapbooks. No. You know, as good as they were to play first-grade rugby league, they live out this dream. And you guys had to be inspired by it.
Oh, it was the first series I remember as a kid, like the full series. Like I remember growing up watching Wally, but this series was what implanted the Queensland spirit into my head. And watching Brett Dallas streak away, like it's just such a vivid childhood memory of mine. And mate, it was awesome.
I think he's given a ripping comment there to the Chasers, but so go and whatever you want to say from there. But he was amazing too. And you think.
Wasn't Gilly sick as well?
Yeah, that's in game 3.
Game 3 comes off the hospital bed.
Yeah. But that epitomised the fact that we believed in each other. And that's why I think every Queensland side can do the unthinkable. Yeah. You've just got to believe and buy in. And that was complete buy-in in that series. It was the best 8 weeks of my life. Yeah. It was brilliant.
All right, by the way, how did you score the fight?
Terrible.
Barnhill v. Moore.
Terrible. I don't know if you call that a fight.
No, nothing, Tatey.
I'm beloved not a fight. I actually got a fit of rage.
Clearly.
And so I'm used to a boxing bag doesn't move. He just kept moving.
Winston used to run.
All right, that was 1995. Now, that's a most unlikely win. Let's jump ahead to 2006. Now, this is both you boys playing this series. Justin, Tatey, this is New South Wales have won 3 straight. You know, and Ricky Stewart coached them in 2005. You don't know is that a dynasty? And you blokes have come in and ended all that. Can you take us back to 2006? What you were thinking going into the series? Mal Meninga takes over as coach. Is it a myth or is it the truth that the seed for victory is sown in and off season?
Yeah.
Long before the first game.
I definitely think it was in that series. So you're right, we'd come off 3 series losses. Mel was appointed coach, and I'll never ever forget it, mate. I get goosebumps even talking about it now. In the pre-season, Mel got 45 potential players that could have represented Queensland that year. Got us to Royal on the Park in Brisbane. We sat in this big room. He put butcher's paper and pens in front of us and goes, I want you to break up into groups. I want you to go away and write down how you want to be viewed by the Queensland public, both on and off the field. And we basically came back with what we call the Queensland Way. And the other thing he did is he brought a few of the legends back in, like Gilly, Alfie, Kevy, those sort of guys, to, I guess, re-educate us on what it meant to play for Queensland, because he thought we'd lost our way and lost our history. And, mate, that kicked off the series wins, but that's where it started.
And mind you, to back up as well, like he, at the end of all that, he stood up and said, listen, if you don't want to follow this plan, there's the effing door. Wow. You're not going to play for Queensland ever again.
Now, despite all of that, and game 1, you get your hearts broken. The field goal wins it, separates the team. So, best laid plans, but you've got to be. Anything can happen in Origin.
We did, and I remember we got on the bus that night driving out of the stadium, and I remember Mal having a chat to the group up the front. He goes, "Look, we'll be right." Like he just had full confidence in us going back to Suncorp. Like. He's like, they think they're going to beat us, Tatey. What do you reckon? He sort of giggled, and I remember thinking, like, mate, he's just got full belief, this bloke. Like, we're on. So
it is a crazy moment. Like you saw Brent Finch there kicking the field goal. I think he came in as a late replacement as well, and obviously an ex-teammate of mine. But look, it was heartbreaking. Like obviously, we're coming from 3 series down, New South Wales. After Fletch threw the old grenade, and they're saying, "Oh, Origin football's dead. We don't want to play." That's what we got told, like Origin football is dead, New South Wales don't want to play no more.
I'll ask you this, Justin, because you played 24 State of Origin matches, and we'll roll the highlights of game number 2. But to score a runaway try in front of home fans in Brisbane, how big is that moment? You look back on your great career, but you have 50,000 Queenslanders screaming for you at the ground.
Yeah, look.
All for you.
Yeah, look, obviously it was a surreal moment, because I remember the week leading into that, I wasn't even supposed to play. I was still out with my hamstring, but I remember I rang Mel and I said, mate, I'll be right, just pick me, because obviously I missed game 1. So for him to show the faith in me to play, as you can see, I've got the old hemi-guard on, which I wore. Then, Braithwaite threw that ball nice in here.
Here we go.
The thing in my mind, mate, I was more worried about tearing my hemi than getting caught. So, look, it was a surreal moment. Everyone's going crazy. Then I think Brett Hodgson come across and just give him the old point and throw the ball at him and get up.
You burn him off easy.
Oh, mate, I was fast back then. I might look slow.
What was it like? Carl Webb, I see. The great Carl Webb, God rest his soul, great player.
He was. Webby was a beast. Like
he was a beast.
When you talk about Origin and you talk about those moments where you could actually get physical, like Charlie was one bloke who used to go, mate, get into these blokes. He'd be leading the way, and you'd get behind him because you knew no one was going to beat him. But Webby was a phenomenal athlete.
I reckon that night was a night that really gave us the belief that we could win again. Because we did a job on him that night. at Suncorp, and it was almost like, you know what, these blokes aren't superhuman. We can win.
Well, I think that's right. I mean, a bloke like Adam Mogg comes into the side, you know, and it's always been said, doesn't matter the Maroon jersey, doesn't matter who wears it, you're next man up.
Well, I remember the selection time was Adam who?
Yeah,
that's right.
And then we go, you'll know who he is soon enough, and they did.
Yeah, I think that's what the Queensland team's all about. Like, it's obviously we had a great leader in Lockie. Obviously, Petro was there, Pricey was there. So we had these older guys in there that knew what Origin all about as well, because they faced defeat. And some of us, even though I played a couple of series before that, but some of those guys have never tasted a loss before, tasted a victory to New South Wales. So.
Okay. Now, despite everything you've told us about the prep for game one, you come back, it's still 1-1. It's still a decider. And with 9 minutes to go on the decider, New South Wales is up by 10. You know, like, it's taking something. It becomes, you are about to become part of Origin folklore. The next 9 minutes could change your life, and it did.
It definitely did, mate, 100%. It changed the course of Origin for me anyway. And I'll never forget Lockie's leadership that night. So before that series, Petro, Pricey and Lockie were all told if we lose the series, they're gone, never playing again. So Lockie had the most to lose out of anyone. When we were, Eric Grace scored a try for blatant knock-on, I'll say as well. The wheels had fallen off the team. Like, everyone, like, I was walking behind, cursing, swearing, saying, we've lost. But I remember Lockie's leadership just saying, mate, we've got time. Let's just kick the ball off, get it back, we'll win this game. And I remember thinking, mate, we're no hope. And just the belief he had, mate, and his leadership and his calmness. And obviously the rest is history after that.
This is the first decider played in a neutral venue. So played in Melbourne, yet having been there on the sideline that night, it still felt like Queensland. Like, there's a lot of Maroon there. A lot of Maroon there.
I was in the crowd with MG doing a corporate tour.
Yeah.
And you're right, the Victorians hold New South Wales in the same regard as we do. So it was very, very pro-Maroon.
It was.
It was. We were into that game, myself and Greg Ellison were sitting up in the box of Mel, and it was just weird though, because I still remember the big fella. He was so calm and relaxed, and it's interesting to hear my man Brent Tate run the field, but Lockie, the one thing I know about Lockie is he's so cool and calm. Like, he'll stick to the game plan until there's no more seconds on the clock. So for him to say that, especially on the field.
All right, that try gives you a crack. And Tatey, this moment out of your career, and considering the setbacks you'd had and things that happened in your career, people will notice you're wearing the neck guard at this point. I mean, your career could have been over. You get to have this moment.
Vossy, I was only a few weeks back from a serious ankle injury too, and that's my favourite night of footy of all time, that night, just of what was riding on the series, how we won it. I'll never ever forget scoring that try when I slammed it down. It was almost like I was saying to the Blues, like, we're coming to get you. And then obviously this moment where, mate, we sealed it, and it was unbelievable.
You talk about Origin, they talk about moments, or they talk about luck. Like, just that play there, it changed Origin for us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, then we go on and do what we do. And for Lockie, once again, to just stick to the game plan, and him being Lockie just pushes on everything. If he doesn't push, if that's someone else playing 5'8", we don't get that in score. But because who Lockie is, he's pushing.
You sort of think of Lockie as skill, but that's the 1%ers you don't see, where he just keeps putting, as you said, keeps pushing and pushing.
Boys, I reckon you could probably sit here and talk about just that one moment for half an hour. But after the break, we're going to jump ahead to win number 8 in a row, and we'll cover 2013. But in going to a break here for Macca's, talking about legendary series 1991, acclaimed as one of the best series ever, so much drama. How about this, a mortal to a mortal in an Origin moment?
Here's Lewis now. Lewis has got some support. Lewis holds it up. Melbourne, can he get there, Big Mel? Oh, yes, he's done it. They've finally cracked the line, Queensland. Oh, you can put that down to Lewis and Meninga. An experienced pair have done it. They've finally cracked this New South Wales side. Oh, listen to the crowd. Don't they love those two? So Smith, now it's away to Crump. They got the numbers. Hodges is over. Justin Hodges is over to score. Hodges scores his 5th Origin try, maybe his most important ever.
Legendary series thanks to Macca's, the mighty Maroons, and one of the cups represents 2013. Remember the collectible cups you can pick up right now with your Maroons meal from Macca's. Get your Big Macs, get your chicken McNuggets, the fries, the drink, or you can buy them separately. But know that if you drink from the 2013 cup, you are drinking part of Justin Hodges. Wonderful try there, boys.
Look, it was. I think it was a tight game at the moment too, and I just remember looking up when I scored. All I could see was that sea of blue down there, and I wanted to give him...
the glint in your eyes and tell this story.
I wanted to give him a different finger, but I thought not to. But look, obviously New South Wales people hate me when I'm down there because of Queensland, so I just wanted to flick them the bird.
Well, Billy, we get to play spectator to this because these two boys are stars of that 2013 series. Now, we have to go to Game 1 because there's a famous Origin moment in Game 1, and that involves Paul Gallen, Nate Miles. Now, it's a turning point in the fabric of the game. It's the last night of the biff, really.
Yeah,
this is it.
It is. I was right there, and I remember being frightened, to be honest.
If you talk about throwing a punch, he's another man.
Yeah. Oh, look, mate, you're right. That changed rugby league forever, didn't it?
That was the end of the brawls.
It was the end of the brawls, but fair kudos to Nate. He wore a few of them and didn't knock him down.
Why did you jump in?
Now
that I watched that back, you were right there.
Well, I always got told to go straight for the opposition, and I just tried to give him a cuddle, and I wasn't throwing him, mate. It was gal.
I tell you one thing I do miss is, like, I know we don't want to condone violence and stuff, but like that, or like Origin, like you saw 95, like those moments is what create the atmosphere, not just on the field, but everyone.
Well, there's no doubt it's a confrontational sport, and Origin brings out so much passion, and I think the fan can appreciate that back in the day, that simmered over into that. But that is now behind us. We talk about what happened on the field, and you boys were sin-binned in this series together, like the Sin-Bin brothers we can talk about. Go to Game 2. Talk us through Game 2 of that series.
Yeah, my fighting exploits again. I actually got sent off for getting punched in the head, so I'm not quite sure how that all happened in Game 2. But, look, back at Suncorp, we were talking about it before. There is nothing like running out at Suncorp as a Queenslander on Queensland night, on Origin night. Mate, there's nothing like
I think it's when he had a run, they tipped him on his head. I think that's how it all started. And he was getting up to play the ball, and something happened. I just said, Tatey, just punch him. So Tatey did a kapow sort of thing, and then went hiding. And I stood up for him and started punching. Then we walked into the change rooms, and he had no idea that I actually got sent off with him.
Here we go. Hello, Brent Tate. Wow.
There he goes.
Well, then it's on.
You've done nothing, Tatey, except wear a punch.
Remember, fighting's been banned.
Yeah.
Obviously didn't get the memo.
So I looked at the ref because he pulls me over and he goes, mate, you're going to the bin. And I was perplexed. I'm like, what for? Like, I just got punched in the head. So I'm blowing up. I'm like, what for?
Is that made over your right shoulder?
I'm literally like, what for? What for?
What are you saying? What?
Oh.
No, mate, look, I was happy. I knew what I did. Obviously, Tatey got punched.
It ends up 11 on 11.
Yeah.
That's why we have 11 versus 11 here. You talked about going back, and there's nothing greater than playing an Origin at Suncorp. But I can remember at this point, the crowd is going nuts. But there is still the pressure that you need to win to square the series.
Yeah.
And 11 versus 11, things could get out of hand real quickly.
Well, it sort of had got out of hand. Funny story, I got in the dressing shed from getting 10 minutes in the bin, and I remember turning around and seeing Hodjo walk in, and I looked at him, I'm like, what are you doing in here? He goes, I got sent off for you idiot.
Look, it was 11-11, mate, but look at us there we go, we're still ready to punch on. But look, it's just one of those moments, like, we're playing at home, we knew that the boys that were out there, they would have done the same thing. So it's not like we felt bad that we let them down. Like, if one of our teammates, and Mel was really big on that, like, if someone gets hit, you run in at all costs, doesn't matter what the scoreline is, what price.
Despite what had happened in
doesn't matter what. If otherwise, if we don't, then we have to face the big fella. So you'd rather get sent off than face the big fella.
I just saw GI there, like, when he was on at Origin, mate, our whole team got excited. He had a glint in his eye.
He just dominated,
didn't he? Mate.
So we're going off to Game 3 in the 2013 series. It's 1-1, it's a decider. Queensland have won the last 7. You can imagine how motivated New South Wales was on that night in front of home fans. That it's surely going to end this year, and surely it doesn't.
I remember seeing a billboard, the best I've ever seen, where they had a picture of a kid, and this kid's from New South Wales, and he's never seen New South Wales win an Origin series. Because it was just dominated for so long that we just thought it was a fait accompli.
Yeah, I think, like, the best thing about this Queensland side, like, everyone knew to do their job. So there was no... And, like, everyone was so excited. Like, you talk about 95, how you were all excited to get together. Like, obviously, times have changed. We don't get to drink and all that stuff. But everyone was excited to come back in the camp every single year. And every single year was different. Like, and, you know, and it's not a cliche when coaches say, oh, look, we're not worried about what's happened in the last 6 years. Not worried about... Like, it really wasn't. Like, the topic was never brought up because we were like, well, all this good stuff that we've done, if we lose... then all that gets undone.
New South Wales tried everything on the night. They even pulled out a streaker to stop the play. I mean, but the game had a bit of everything. It had controversy. Yeah, New South Wales got a late try there. If you watch back, there was a knock-on, and that was all part of it. They had a Hodges try.
And I think that was Matty Scott's first try ever, if it would have got awarded. But obviously, big Gordon Tallis, the streaker, come flying down the middle. But you can see there, like, obviously, all different things happens in Origin, and like I said, I would have loved to get the...
That was allowed to continue, and 2 plays later score. For Gordy, when the streaker came on, it was like looking in a mirror. Like, you know, it was just incredible. Like, man,
What gets me at the start of the run in 06, you had Lockie and Thurston.
Yep.
By the end of the run, you got Cronk and Thurston. What an amazing rack of talent that just kept coming through.
Mate, we had some of the greatest players, but it was all culture-driven. Like, those senior players were the ones that, you know, were driving the culture of the Queensland side the most. Mate, look, and when you look back now...
that happened, folks. It's all part of Origin folklore. I mean, that happened. Like, a try was scored with the streaker, and then it's no try, and Queensland hang on to win, and it's 8 straight.
You're right. And
it's 8 straight.
Looking back at that, to win down there, like you say, to break the streak for New South Wales and motivation, it just goes to show what a great run we did have and the pressure moments that we did nail. Yeah, it's awesome.
Amazing stuff. Well, it's been great to share memories with you, Brent, with you, Justin, but Billy, the man who had the Queenslander chant. How about we finish on a really big note? Now that the dust has settled on your career, to have represented Queensland, speak on behalf of all the players that have represented over the years, what does it mean, in words?
It means you lived your childhood dream.
Yeah.
And you only have one Everest, and we all climbed it. And what a view from the top.
All right, and now you've got to get the collectible cups.
What great cups.
From Macca's. Have the Maroons meal, folks. It has been great sharing some Origin memories. 95, 2006, 2013, the mighty Maroons. Thanks to Macca's. Enjoy your Origin series, folks. It's been great reliving some wonderful memories with Brent Tate, Justin Hodges and Billy Ball. See you next time.